So the talk of the town right now is around a recent interview that Elon Musk did with the editor-in-chief of The Economist. It was about an hour and a half interview long. If you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to check it out. Well, the vast majority of this interview was basically wasted air. It's wasted space, wasted time, wasted brain cells in some regards. Not everyone has the opportunity to sit down with this man, right? He is obviously one of the most prolific people of our generation. And he finds himself to be a group among a group of a very handful of people that are making decisions that could impact all of humanity and already are. But here we have the editor-in-chief, Zanny Minton. She's with this incredible opportunity, right? Sitting down with Elon Musk. And she dominates the interview with her own personal beefs for a good part of it, actually. Her own personal beefs about why he doesn't like the European society and how she lives in Europe. He doesn't live in Europe. And I was scratching my head like, lady, do you know that there are so many more consequential things that you could be talking about right now? Like the implications of artificial intelligence on life? And so the point that I want to raise, though, and that I really want to highlight here tonight is what for many months, actually, and years, has been downplayed, right, for many months and years, but it's actually spoken directly in the light. So let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of the Holy Politician podcast. So what used to be spoken in the dark is now in the light, and it's front and center for everyone to see, right? This is an issue that many techies and people living in and around, the Bay Area of California and elsewhere, many of these people have forecasted, and they continue to try to predict the age of what is called, quote, super intelligence, right? And this fascinates me because artificial intelligence or AI, it's transforming just at rapid pace. We can't even keep up with all of the changes that are happening. And most people don't even understand what it is or how to use it, or it just sounds like this amorphous kind of intangible pie in the sky, kind of ghostly reality. It doesn't even sound real, but it's very real, right? And so not only do people not know what it is, it's moving at such a fast pace that people they're barely learning what some of the stuff is, and then the way that it's tracking and moving every 5 seconds, it's compounding, right? What started out as a simple just putting in a request and asking for a response, now AI can draft huge documents, research papers, it can analyze data. It can do almost anything. It beats people in chess. There's almost nothing that the software version can't do. Anyway, take a look at this quick clip.
AI may exceed the sum of human intelligence in around 5 years.
In 5 years.
Roughly 5 years is my guess. Um, so there really won't be anything that AI can't do better than humans, apart from being human, perhaps.
You're sure that humans will no longer be in control in 10 years' time?
I think it is unlikely. In the same way that if you had a vastly more, you know, the if the difference in intelligence between AI and humans is vastly greater than the difference in intelligence between AI and chimpanzees, it's hard to imagine that the chimpanzees would be in charge.
You said there was a 10 to 20% chance of killer robots wiping out humanity.
Yes.
So you sounded worried then. Now you seem very relaxed about it.
So here you have Elon Musk. He's predicting that AI may exceed human intelligence in 5 years, reaching a level of, again, what's called super intelligence. Then he goes on to say that humans will not be in control in 10 years' time. Sounds like the quiet part out loud to me. So I'm genuinely curious, what is your reaction to that? My reaction was one of actually relief because most people, they work so hard to cover things up and they work so hard to hide the truth. And I'm sure that there's a lot more to unpack there. We don't have the full story, right? But just think about that. Super intelligence will exceed human intelligence in 5 years, and then humans potentially may not be in control. Are you willing to give up your control? Are you willing to kind of just acquiesce your life and give your life away to a robot or to an artificial entity, the entity even? And so there's a lot that needs to be unpacked. There's a lot that can be said. There is a lot of prayer and just advocacy, intercession that is going to need to take place if people aren't already doing it. I've been tracking the advent of artificial intelligence probably for the last 15 plus years, reading about it in financial magazines like Fortune and Forbes, and just learning about how it's transforming the financial industry, transforming business. And it all sounded space age, like, oh my God, this is so far away until it really truly begins to impact our day-to-day lives. And the prolific kind of nature of it, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. I thought it was light years away, and that's just no longer the case. We're here. We are in the age of the end of normal life as we know it. And yeah, we've watched so many sci-fi movies. There are so many books that have been written about these, you know, artificial, non-human beings, or whether it's aliens or robots or entities that dominate society. And I'm like, am I living in a movie? Where am I? And so we need to really think about this. Never, ever will things be the same again. They're not going to be the same. And you may not see it and you may not feel it right now, but it's coming and it's literally knocking on your door. Now, we can live in fear and be afraid of what's happening, or we can say to ourselves, this is the greatest time to be alive. And then we could take advantage of every moment that God gives us to live out our purpose and to rescue people from hell. Because really, as believers, our highest responsibility and call is to bring glory to God's name and to tell and share the gospel, which is rescuing people from hell. And if you haven't lived out your purpose yet, what are you waiting for? You could be 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50, 60, 70. If you haven't yet pursued your purpose, that thing that God has been telling you to do for years, probably, or if you don't know what your purpose is, go to God and He will reveal it to you, because God is not somebody who's going to withhold information and knowledge from you. He's going to give it to you and He will give it to you liberally. So if you don't know your purpose, right now is a very good time to find it and to live it out. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, but there is no issue to me other than salvation that is more consequential than what is taking place with artificial intelligence. And the fact that people are just not preparing their lives in a way that helps them to understand that in 5 years, things are going to look very different. And so if you need to get additional skill sets, if you need to kind of think about how are you going to regroup and reorient your job, if you need to get a side hustle because your job might be one of the jobs that's first on the chopping block, begin to do something entrepreneurial. Begin to use the gifts and the talents that God has given you. Many of you have been called with multiple gifts and you're just sitting on it. It's like sitting on your hands. You didn't, yeah, I refuse. Nope, nope, nope. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm not going to use my gifts. Nope. It's like your butt is glued to your hands. But God is saying, wake up, because things are shifting and things are changing. And you can no longer afford not live your purpose. You can no longer afford just to sit and be kind of just come home from work every day, hang out, veg out, chill, turn on the tube, turn on Netflix, eat, you can no longer afford to do things normally as you've done before. You've got to ask God for more discipline. You've got to ask God to give you witty inventions and ideas, or to give you the strategy to execute the witty inventions and ideas that he's already been giving to you. He's already given it to you. And as a community of believers, we got to equip our people with the tools and the knowledge that they need on two specific things. We need to help people pivot and we need to help them prepare. We've got to help people do these two things because if we don't, 5 years is going to go by in a blink. And your children are going to be looking at you like, Mom, what are we going to do? Dad, what are we going to do? You know, your nieces, your nephews, your husband, your wife, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know because we didn't pivot and we didn't prepare, right? And so in the coming weeks, God is really, I don't know, I'm stirred up about AI, y'all. I'm really, really stirred up about just the lack of understanding as to what's coming. And I'm stirred up about the lack of understanding that not only is AI coming, it's already here, but Jesus is coming. And so if you ain't stirred up about nothing else, you should be stirred up about those two things. And so as the Lord directs me, and I just pray that God would give me wisdom and insight and clarity, I want to be able to provide people with understanding and resources so that they can both pivot and prepare because we don't have any more time to play around. Prophets have been telling us for the past like prophets that I've been listening to, they've been talking about this probably for the past 5 to 10 years that I've been listening, including my own father, who's been talking about this for decades. Dad was right about it all. It's time for us to pivot and prepare. Take this seriously. We've got to tell people about Jesus. And we, as a society, as humanity, as believers in the body of Christ, we've got to pivot and we've got to prepare. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So please leave me some. And I'm looking forward to sharing more on the next podcast. Thank you for watching.